The secret to happiness is to align with your soul's wisdom, but daily life often gets in the way. To keep you on your path, join Linda Manning, transformational coach and healer, for spiritual inspiration and interviews with amazing healers and teachers. If you are eager to connect with your soul, excited to travel on inner adventures, and are curious to learn from cutting-edge teachers, then this is the podcast for you.
So welcome back, listeners. This is Linda Manning from the Trust Your Wisdom podcast, and we are here to inspire you no matter what's going on in your life. And I have a very special guest with me today. I'm very excited to learn more about her. We only met recently, but again, one of those things where you just meet someone and you feel like you're going to be friends. So I'm excited to have Cheryl Stelte. I hope I'm saying that right, Cheryl. Is that how you say it?
Yes, you are.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got Cheryl Stelte here, and she has been a spiritual entrepreneur for over 2 decades, not just one, but 2. And she is a best-selling author. She's got 2 books, and one is called Client Magnet, which I'm super interested in learning more about, and The Coach's Guide to Attract Ideal Clients Through Spiritual Awareness. So this sounds like a dream come true to me. And she's the founder and CEO of Divine Light Institute. We'll have links to everything in the show notes, and Azarias Online Energy Healing. And she has psychic abilities, of course, and she holds diplomas and certifications in all kinds of different healing methodologies. She leads retreats, she leads coaching sessions. She's the full package. And Cheryl is sought for her ability to help others break through barriers when nothing else has worked. So we're going to dig in. We're going to learn some stuff from Cheryl. So welcome to the Trust Your Wisdom podcast, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you so much, Linda. It's just wonderful to be here with you and to get to know you better as well. You know, we're on really such similar paths, if not the same. It's an honor to be here with you.
Two reflections of the same pathway. So Cheryl, I just feel like diving in with you about, and I don't know why, but I'm just trusting where things come from with your childhood. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about, did you have psychic gifts as a child? Is there something from your childhood that, of course, there has to be something from your childhood that impacts who you are today, but just tell me a little bit about how Cheryl began her life.
Well, I came into this world and my parents had 4 kids in 5 years. And so I wouldn't say I had all my needs met. I'll say that at the very least. But I really believed in God. And I remember being about 8 years old, and I used to ask God every morning, is this going to be a good day or a bad day? And I just remember that so well. And I really believed there was a God. And life went on, and I had a pretty, I don't know what I want to say about sort of the classic teenage years, lots of difficulty with my parents and that sort of thing. And later on in life, I married a man who I didn't know was going to be an abusive alcoholic. And so here I was 13 years later into that marriage with 2 kids. And he punched me one night in the chest and gave me the police. And that was the beginning of the end of the marriage. So I left him soon after that. And then I found, and I really moved away from God. We went to church when I was growing up and that sort of thing. And I had an experience where I was on the beach with a friend of mine. And that was almost 30 years ago. She was doing kinesiology on me, and I suddenly felt my deceased brother's presence. And my brother took his life. And here he was. And there was nothing spiritual going on in my life at the time. Didn't know anything about spirituality, so to speak, knew more about religion, and felt a connection with God. Like it was, and after I left my husband, I would just randomly feel this deep gratitude for God, because I knew that helped me get out of that marriage. And I just knew even though my life was far from on track, I knew it would keep getting better. I had such hope. And I just had this strong, it really felt like a connection with God. So I felt my brother's presence through this great amount of love. And my friend who was doing kinesiology on me, all of a sudden said, "Your brother's with us." And
Mm.
she had never channeled anybody before. And his message to me was to learn to meditate. And so I thought, okay. And I asked him, why did you take your life? And he said he was diagnosed with bipolar, or he wasn't diagnosed. He was severely depressed, but was bipolar and had never been diagnosed. And so it was a very, very interesting time for me. And there was, lots that happened the rest of that weekend that we were up island. I was living on Vancouver Island.
But it's so confirming, right? Like here you have this like weird, oh my gosh, my brother's here. And then your friend saying that, it's like he was really going to make sure that you got it, that it wasn't, you weren't making it up.
Yeah, it was incredible. You're right. It was just so validating. And so when I went back to the city, I found a meditation class and started meditating. But I was also depressed at the time. And it was at the time, you remember about 30 years ago, that's when people first started really being diagnosed with depression and given medication. So I was diagnosed with depression. I was given medication, but I didn't like the medication. I got headaches occasionally, and I just didn't feel right. And within 3 months of meditating, and I was just doing very basic meditation, focusing on the breath going in and out of my nose. That was what I learned. I was able to get off the medication.
Yeah.
And, and my doctor said, "You will be on this medication the rest of your life. You're severely depressed." And I went off and he kept tracking me. He would have me fill in surveys every once in a while when I would see him. And I was just like, he just kept shaking his head.
I wonder where he is now, if he's, if he's still around, and has he, because back then a lot of this alternative stuff was way out of the normal doctor's comfort zone.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And so, and that's what led me to start doing my own healing. Over time, I became my own energy worker and I studied multiple modalities, really worked with shamanism for quite some time. And I was just healing stuff from my earlier life and just kept going. And my life over the years just kept improving. And so I did all kinds of trainings and eventually, became an energy healer in many ways in different modalities.
When you were studying shamanism, did you study with some shamans in this country? Did you go elsewhere? What was your shaman studies like?
All of the above. Well, I was living in Canada and I used to cross the border. I went to a lot of training through the Foundation for Shamanic Studies in Bellingham. And there was also a shaman from Belgium, Claude Poncelet, who is now deceased, bless him. And he was just an amazing man. And one of the things that he taught, he used to say, "Don't just listen to what I say, become your own teacher." He said, "Most of the stuff I'm teaching you is self-taught." And he was such an amazing man. And so that's what I try and pass on to my clients is become your own teacher. I think that's because we're all unique souls. We're all different. So yes, it's great to learn from another and to learn from through our own inner world. And
well, that's so perfect, right? Because here the podcast is called Trust Your Wisdom. And it really is around that idea of how do we align to our own wisdom and trust it. And that's why I was like saying, when it gets confirmed, it's so nice because it doesn't always happen that we get that confirmation. Can we trust it anyway?
That's right. And I just on that note, it's so interesting that you say that. So I do chakra readings. And one of the most common things I see in the third eye is the third eye is developed in the front and it's not developed in the back. And what that usually tells me is people have really good intuition and they don't follow it. People that do follow it, the third eye is light all the way around, that really listen to their own inner wisdom. So I just wanted to let you know that's
That's really great.
experience.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look out for that. Oh, that's that's really cool. So so you what you're just talking about now, it sounds like you're visual. You may also have some knowing. So how does your wisdom, your intuition, how does that show up for you?
How does it show up for me? It's through meditation, through doing energy healing, through connection with the universe. Uh, I'm not in touch with it 24/7.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't believe I was really born. I definitely wasn't born with it. Definitely not born with it. Like some people, they have experiences in early childhood. It's more practiced. I've developed it over time, just going inward and just learning about myself. And so, yeah, it happens in all those ways. And even when I do the online energy healing, if I have a client there, I often get guidance. Oh, no, this is not about this. Yes, this is about this. Or to ask certain questions to help the client go inward and
Yeah.
access their own knowing and that sort of thing. And even through teaching Azarias energy healing, I really try and help my clients access that for themselves as well.
So yeah, so that's great. And I feel the same way, like being that it wasn't something like as a young child, I had these, spirit guides coming through me. I'm sure they were, but I wasn't conscious of them. But through practice over time, it just comes more and more. I think it's like any skill, you can build it and you get to practice it. And so even when you're saying like someone's really spiritual, but they're not listening to it, is very different than someone who is intuitive and listening to it.
Yes, and I think I'm a little bit different in a lot of people access their own inner wisdom. Some people try and go through the third eye, really use the intuition that way, where I go with the heart. I use emotion. So I even years ago, like 25 years ago, I remember being guided to when I'm grocery shopping to really feel into my heart what foods are good for
Mhm.
me and what are not. And at the time, I was eating a lot of tofu was really in and fairly new to eat soy. And I was eating this dessert tofu and and I thought, oh, it's good for me. It's good for me. And I was eating a fair bit. So I was in the grocery store and I was just practicing. It was just experiential. And I was having really great success in using this method of holding something to my heart chakra and just closing my eyes and feeling the emotion. If I felt uplifted, that was positive. If I would feel contracted, if it wasn't good for me, and here I am at the grocery store, and I thought, oh, this is good for me, and I held it to my heart, and I got no, and my face contracts, and I was just so surprised, and so I still do that today with many things, not just in the physical, but even ideas. And we can all do that. Trust our emotions.
Right.
We're
Yes.
often taught to not trust our emotions. Other people know better than us, you know, authority.
Yeah. And we can override it with our thoughts. I should, like the should is particularly a dangerous override, right? Oh, yeah, I'd like to do that, but I shouldn't, or I should, instead of really listening.
You're so right.
Yeah. So I want to hear more about your client magnet process, how you came to it or just how that shows up.
Thank you. Yeah, it was never planned. It was one of those things that unfolded for me. And it was actually a client I was working with. I wrote Heal Your Neck Issues and Let Your Throat Chakra Shine. And so I'd worked with a number of clients, and I had this one woman who was a coach, and she started off and she wrote a book and she got this group together, and it was very successful. And she never got another client for 6 months. Nobody, zero. And she was trying all these methods, all the social media. She spent a fortune and I did a chakra reading for her, and I could see where some of the blocks were. So she decided at the end of the day to try working with me, and we did that. And it was, I can't remember, it was within 6 or 8 weeks of working together that she suddenly had another group of 5 or 6 people together, and she was well on her way. And she's still working in the business. And I started working with some other coaches. I had another woman who was a coach for quite some time, and she wanted to work in a different way and wanted to work with groups. She was working with people one-on-one. And she wrote a book, and she didn't get any clients. She was at it for a year and a half trying to get clients. And she worked with me, same thing. She got, her original group was 4 people, but I helped her clear the blocks, because what happens is, we move forward in life. And so, yes, we all have the fight or flight thing. The reptilian brain comes up, and,
Right.
you think you're going to die, whatever that is. But we also have early childhood wounding that gets in the way, that we need to go in and heal at a deeper level, than we've healed it in the past. Or if we haven't at all, then we really need to do some work. But we can quickly move those blocks, remove the energy that's getting in the way, and then it's about becoming empowered, to really become who we truly are. And it's through various practices of empowerment that we actually attract clients. And so that's what I've always done. And people ask me, where do your clients come from?
Yeah.
Just kind of fall out of the sky, like find me. So I am just now starting to get more into this social media stuff, and doing things the more traditional way as I build my business. But in the past, it's just been, you know, uh,
Magnetizing them, it sounds like.
mhm.
Yeah. All right. So, Cheryl, and I warned you I might do this. I want to put you on the spot. And if I want to attract more clients, what's one, you can just check my chakras or whatever you want to do. What's one thing that's blocking me?
Oh, let me have a look. Well, it's interesting. One of the chakras that I see the chakras differently, I think, than some people. And so the root chakra is very much about safety and stability.
Mhm.
It's also about responsibility, what we're responsible for, and accomplishment. And so what I see at the back of people like you, you have a very strong sense of purpose. And so I often see this spike, and it's sort of cone shaped, and it doesn't go down into the earth, but it's at the very back of the chakra. And you have a beautiful spike. So you're very, very in tune with your purpose right now. And it's clear. I see it as white light. You also have a great sense of safety and stability. And yet, I'm wondering if there's something, if you're being called to move to another level in your work, because you have such a strong sense of purpose. But in between this spike and the rest of your root chakra, there's a block in there.
Mm.
And I always see the blocks as dark energy. It's always, and so it's like this ball that's sitting there. So you have a strong sense of purpose, but you're not 100% in touch with it. You're blocked from really feeling that fully. So I see it right in that spot. Does that make sense?
It does actually. Yeah, it does make sense. So that's really cool, Cheryl. And so you don't have to obviously do this now, but I'm curious for me, or again, if someone was going to work with you, like what would you do next? What would be the
Oh,
next thing?
two things. One is I would give you some meditations to practice, to breathe into that and heal it, to help you discover what that is. What is the source of it? And if you wanted to, then part of all my programs are I teach people to become their own energy workers. So you have skills for life. So I would teach you some practices to do, or one in particular, and then I would do an energy healing on you online to help you move that energy, to move through that so that you can get that flow and that connection, that deeper connection with your purpose. So you're not missing out on any of it.
Sounds exciting. Sounds great. All right. So wonderful. So you tell me a little bit about who you tend to work with, who, what's going on in your business right now, what's growing
Um,
or
Thank
coming up
you.
for you.
Yeah, I just really want to acknowledge you for being vulnerable on this podcast. That you really put yourself on the spot as well, and that takes courage. So thank you for letting me
Yeah,
talk.
because I don't know what you're gonna say, right? You can say, "Oh man, that root chakra, man, that is brutal."
That's
So
right.
no.
That's right. I work with people who some of them meditate and some of them don't, but people that want serious change, that they're really ready to invest themselves. They're ready to meditate every day. They want to. They're open to great growth. And they're ready to face their fears and face any obstacles and really, really overcome them. So they're really open. And a lot of people come to me where they have tried so much and nothing else works, and it's not easy. It's intense. I like intense.
Yeah.
Let's get the best bang for your buck. And that's pretty much what I deliver. And the people that find me are just like, okay, I'm ready. I don't know what it looks like. I'm scared and I really want great change. And then we can make that happen.
I love that. Yeah, because that's that I've always been like, how can I go the deepest, the fastest? And that was my, I looked for a healing school that could get me to really help people shift rapidly.
Yes,
And then I learned over the years of being a healer that I actually had to pace it. I had to pace it to the person. That fast isn't work for everybody. So these are things that you learn over time, hopefully.
absolutely. Absolutely. And yet, fast for one person is different for another person.
Yeah.
And so, for other people, their fast is not as fast as yours or mine or someone else. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's trusting that people will have that shift as they're ready and in their own way, but we get to hold that space to make it easier to happen.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so Cheryl, what, tell me a little bit about, so you still meditate every day, I'm assuming you still do those things. What is your relationship like with God, divine source, whatever you want to call it these days?
It's big. It's big. What is my relationship like? I really, you know, it's one of the things I notice, especially with prayer. The client I was telling you about, who we changed quickly, when I did a chakra reading on her, I could see and feel this energy that came up from her heart chakra on like sort of a 45-degree angle. And she was very connected with the divine that way. That was her sort of channel. And I asked her if she prayed, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I've been praying for years. I pray to God every day." And one of the practices that we did, I helped her turn that around and pray to the God inside her.
Hmm.
Because God is not, yes, God is outside of us. God is everywhere and in everything. I really believe that. And we are godly.
Right.
We are made of love and light. God is within us. And so to pray to that God, when she started doing that, it really shifted things. And it doesn't happen overnight that we feel God within us, but the more we can stay in touch with that, and that we're held, that like before we came on here and we just meditated briefly together, and you said, I loved it when you said we're being cradled. So that's something that even through the day, I live in a beautiful area in nature in Colorado. And so I breathe that in, that I'm being held by the earth and by the whole universe,
Hmm.
and that God is always holding us and is always trying to help us grow. One of the greatest challenges I find for myself and others is to see that everything serves me. Everything serves me in my growth. So people that I might not like their behavior, or I think bad things happen, I try and look at how does this serve me? Even with COVID, how is this serving me? How is this serving us as humans? How is climate change serving us? We have a lot of
Right.
problems. And so to me, it's how do I try and be part of the solution? I think it's everything serves us to help us evolve. So how is God serving me? How, to
Yeah.
help me evolve and help others evolve?
Yeah. One of my philosophies of life is that everything happens for us. And so that's really what I hear you speaking into too. And it's such a powerful and profound way to look at everything. Like you said, even COVID, even climate change. Like, how do we be open to the possibility that these things that seem bad can still be gifts and can still serve us?
Exactly. It's hard to do. It is not easy. But I think, even you look at the ozone layer, remember, with all the
Yes.
aerosol spray cans that we had, and our ozone layer was being depleted, and now we're fine. Nobody believed that could happen. Oh no, we're all going to get burned up. And the sheep in Australia were getting problems with they're getting cataracts and all this from the depleted ozone
Yeah.
layer. So I believe that healing is always possible within us, and healing is possible for the whole planet and our whole biosphere for everything. It's possible.
Yeah. And I think I told you at the beginning, I had this, I was doing a meditation the other day, and it came through that the earth is healing itself. And, this isn't to say, oh, just go ahead and pollute. Of course, we still get to be caretakers for this beautiful planet that we've been gifted with. But I don't know. I just had this thought of like, oh, it's okay. Because I get into a little panic sometimes, like, oh my God, like the weather's getting warmer and this. And it was like, no, there's a deeper thing happening here, and there's a cleansing happening. And I guess it's like, you do a cleanse and the toxins are removed, and it feels terrible, but then in the long run, it's healthier.
That's right.
And that's what I feel like is happening with the earth right now.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So just hoping I'm right. So, all right. Well, Cheryl, one of the things I love to do is to really leave listeners feeling inspired. So I am curious to hear from you, like either something that you find inspiring or something you do to stay inspired. And of course, you really just talked to that in some ways by having that framework of how is all of this for us? How is everything of service? Is it actually a very powerful, inspiring framework? Is there anything else?
Yeah, I think the one thing I do is so I try and look at how things are serving me, but also I'm a human being, and there can be, I don't know that the healing ever finishes. I did have a spiritual teacher tell me once, "You've healed all your wounds." And I said, "No way." I don't know that I'm ever going to be done. And she said, "Well, you've healed all the big ones, you've healed the bulk of it." And I think as long as we're evolving and growing, we're always going to have opportunities to heal at a deeper level, which is really what ultimately helps us grow. But I think one of the things that that you've talked about as well is to feel that support of the universe. So sometimes we feel alone. It's, something hurts us, or we feel like we failed. It didn't turn out, and it can be hard to keep going. And so to always remember that we are supported and surrender to that, to sink into that. And so I have a surrender meditation that I like to hand out to people that I developed when I was on retreat. And you sit at a 45-degree angle and just open up and let the universe hold you, love you. And it's that learning, it helps people surrender to being held, because we weren't always taught that well, to just really let go of ourselves, be held. And we can do it even standing up. breathe the earth's, the love and light of the earth into us and fill up our being right up to the heart chakra, and breathe the love and light of the whole universe into our being. And if you stand and do that and you're just conscious of it, then it's like everything's going to be okay. It's like a mother, caressing, soothing a child. There. It's okay. It's like, then we can keep going.
So, Cheryl, I love the idea of that surrender prayer, and I'm wondering if that's something that we could give to the listeners. Is that something you could offer them?
Yes, I would love to do that. And I just want to say with the surrender practice, it is really about opening up to the universe. And we do it, you can sit in bed. It's a very, when we meditate, we sit straight. I don't call laying flat meditation, because the energy naturally wants to flow vertically. But in order to surrender, it's helpful to relax 100%. And so it's sort of halfway in between. If you prop yourself up at a 45-degree angle with pillows and your legs forwards, it can be such a profound practice and help you move through anything. You just let the universe take care of it all for you.
Sounds great. All right. So we'll put a link in the show notes for anyone who wants that. All right, Cheryl. Well, any last words of wisdom or anything else that you would like the listeners to know, or if they want to reach you, or what do you have going on that they should know about?
I have a full day event on February the 12th, Saturday the 12th, for my online Azarias energy healing program. So if people have thought they're healers or people have told them they're healers, I'm teaching some basics in energy healing on that day. So maybe I'll give you the link for that as well.
Sure, absolutely. We can post that too.
All right.
Great. That sounds
Such a joy to sit here with you.
Same here, Cheryl. It's really great to get to know you. Thank you so much. And so listeners, hopefully you're going to be in the surrender mode. Hopefully I feel like really grounded and inspired from this conversation, and I hope you do too. And don't forget to subscribe and like and do all of those good things and write reviews and share it with your friends so that we can keep the whole world getting inspired and trusting their wisdom. Thanks so much, Cheryl.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to leave a review and share this podcast. To learn more or to book a personal session with Linda, go to innerclarity.biz or click the link in the show notes. And may you always trust your wisdom.